Before time as we know it began, there was a story of creation, of purpose, and of a covenant that shaped the destiny of humanity. This is Genesis, the origin of everything. From the creation of the world to the birth of nations, Genesis is more than history. It's the foundation of who we are and why we exist. Dive into the origins of life. Like, subscribe, and let's explore Genesis together. Don't forget to subscribe. The book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is foundational to the Judeo-Christian tradition and serves as a cornerstone for understanding human existence, divine purpose, and the nature of God. The word Genesis itself derives from the Greek word Genesis, meaning origin or beginning, reflecting the book's primary focus on the origins of the universe, humanity, sin, and God's covenant with his people. Structure and themes. Genesis is traditionally divided in two major sections. 1. Primeval history. This section deals with universal themes, offering accounts of the creation of the world, humanity's role in it, and the consequences of sin. Creation. Genesis opens with two distinct accounts of creation. In the first account, God creates the universe in 6 days, culminating in the creation of humanity in his image, signifying humanity's unique role as stewards of creation. The second account provides a more intimate portrayal of human origins, focusing on Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. These chapters emphasize God's sovereignty, creativity, and intentionality. The fall. The disobedience of Adam and Eve introduces sin into the world, resulting in separation from God, suffering, and death. This narrative explains the brokenness of the human condition and sets the stage for God's redemptive plan. Humanity's spread and rebellion. Stories such as Cain and Abel, the flood, and the Tower of Babel reveal the escalating consequences of sin. Yet, even in judgment, God shows mercy as seen in his covenant with Noah after the flood. These chapters highlight humanity's continued rebellion, but also God's unrelenting desire to restore his creation. 2. Patriarchal history. This section narrows its focus to God's covenant relationship with a chosen family, through whom he plans to bless all nations. Abraham. God calls Abram to leave his homeland, promising to make him a great nation and bless the world through his descendants. Abraham's faith and obedience are tested repeatedly, particularly in the near sacrifice of his son Isaac. These narratives introduce the themes of faith, covenant, and divine promise. Isaac and Jacob. The story continues with Isaac, the child of promise, and Jacob, whose name is changed to Israel. Jacob's life is marked by struggles, but through him, the 12 tribes of Israel are established. Joseph. The final chapters tell the story of Joseph, whose journey from betrayal and slavery to prominence in Egypt demonstrates God's providence and the fulfillment of his promises, even in the midst of human failings. The book closes with Jacob's family settling in Egypt, setting the stage for the Exodus. Key theological themes. 1. Creation and God's sovereignty. Genesis affirms that God is the ultimate source of all life and order. The repeated phrase, "and God saw that it was good," emphasizes the inherent goodness of creation, reflecting God's character. 2. Humanity in God's image. Humanity's creation in God's image underscores the dignity and responsibility of every individual. Humans are tasked with stewardship of the earth, reflecting God's care and creativity. 3. Sin and its consequences. The introduction of sin explains the presence of suffering and death in the world. Genesis portrays sin not only as individual disobedience, but as a force that corrupts relationships and societies. 4. Covenant. God's covenants with Noah, Abraham, and later Jacob form the backbone of the narrative, demonstrating his commitment to redeem humanity and restore creation. 5. Providence and redemption. Even amidst human failure, God's providence is evident. The story of Joseph, for instance, highlights how God can use even evil intentions for good. Relevance and legacy. Genesis is not merely a historical or theological account, but a deeply personal narrative that addresses fundamental questions. Where do we come from? Why is there suffering in the world? What is our purpose? For believers, Genesis provides the foundation for understanding God's relationship with humanity and his ultimate plan of salvation through Jesus Christ, who is seen as the fulfillment of the promises made in Genesis. In addition to its spiritual significance, Genesis has profoundly influenced art, literature, philosophy, and science, sparking centuries of dialogue on topics such as creation, ethics, and human nature. Conclusion Genesis is a rich and multifaceted text that lays the groundwork for the entire biblical narrative. Through its stories of creation, fall, and covenant, it reveals a God who is both transcendent and deeply personal, inviting humanity into a relationship of trust, obedience, and hope. For those who seek to understand the human story and its divine purpose, Genesis remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. See you in the next video.